Hi, and welcome back to another Sofa Science that is not on a sofa. We're actually in Manchester at the moment, very exciting, and I'm joined by Matt Parker.
Hi.
So first question, as all questions go, who are you?
So I am Matt Parker, as previously advertised, and I work as a mathematics communicator. So I guess much like science communication is quite a big thing, and then obviously, biology and everything else, evolution within that, people can pick off their areas that they're the best qualified to talk about. I'm a generalist, but across mathematics. The word for the number 4 has 4 letters. It is the only number in the English language that has the same number of letters as its value, and that's not really a mathematics fact, but we can make it a bit more mathsy because you can consider this a function that takes a number, turns it into its word in English, and then counts how many letters that word has. And for that function, 4 is a fixed point. It doesn't go anywhere, it maps to itself. So I originally trained as a secondary school maths teacher or math teacher, depending on the country. And
What is it in Australia?
Maths.
Okay, good.
So my instinct is to say maths.
Yes.
And across all my YouTube videos, I say maths, unless it's relevant that I'd say math because I'm talking to an American. But if I'm on tour, I do talks in the US or in Canada, I switch to math because I don't get emotional about.
Do you not?
I don't. And a lot of people think I do, but I genuinely don't care.
Okay.
If I'm talking to someone or talking to an audience about mathematics, I don't want them to find what I'm saying jarring. I don't want them to be distracted by me saying an unusual word. Exactly. So if I'm in the US, I switch to math. And bizarrely, it's easier for me to go from maths to math when I go to the States than to switch from math back to maths. For some reason, math is more tenacious, and I can see how it really is. It's dangerous. I can see how it wants the American accent itself is highly infectious.
Yes.
And a lot of their terminology is also equally,
I came back
dangerous.
from the West Coast, and oh my goodness,
it's phenomenal, isn't it? It's just incredible. Yeah.
So how do you get started? Continue on the.
So I was a mathematics teacher and
at secondary school. So that's age 11 to 18.
Yes, correct. Very good. In the UK, I taught in Australia and I taught in the UK, and then I gradually transited from that to doing general mathematics communication. And
that's a bit of a leap, though.
Yeah,
Were you sat at the desk while everyone was doing their exams thinking, God, I could be doing something more productive with my life?
It was close to that. I mean, to be fair, if kids are doing exams, you make up games that you play as the invigilator.
Is that stand next to the ugliest kid?
No, it's
always thought.
No. It's far more benign than that. So we used to play tag. So the invigilators, they'd be like someone like at a desk, you walk over and go, tag. And then you'd walk off, right? And so the kids can't tell you're doing it, right? And then, because then when you're strolling around, like suddenly you realize someone's following you and you're like, crap. And you gotta look like you're just checking on the kids, but keeping, because it's a grid as well, so it's perfect for it, right? And so
the slowest, most
silent, most subtle game of tag.
And during this, you were thinking, God, I wish I was playing tag on YouTube.
And then, So
you like the YouTube tags? Is that what?
Exactly. I love tagging things. Yeah. So anything where I can do that, I'm in. So actually, my first step was working for universities to run events for secondary school students, and then I went. This is fun, but I think there's a much wider audience than I'm reaching because it was still the same kids that I saw when I was a teacher.
But you didn't have to see them the whole time.
I didn't see them the whole time. And I saw a lot more, so it was more efficient. So in that regard, very good. But I thought there's a lot of adults and people out there, right? And I would love to talk to them about maths as well. Yeah, statistically speaking, they're all over the place. And so I went, I want to get better at public speaking and communicating with people. And so I looked around because I'm very academic, I thought, how can I train? Like, how can I study to learn those skills? And all the public speaking courses I found were very corporate. It was how to give a business presentation or how to do this together. And then I found a course you can do in stand-up comedy. And I was like, that's the one.
Yeah.
And so I did a course in it. I loved it.
How long ago was this?
That was 2009.
Okay.
And so I did the course early 2009, and 2009, 2010, I worked doing stand-up as an actual,
purely stand-up.
Pure stand-up, like normal.
Not your standard mathematician
Not math stuff, just stand-up. So I would be hired by a comedy club, and I would go in and I would do, like, you're hired to do, 20 minutes or whatever of jokes, and I'd show up and I'd do jokes.
And 2 years was a long enough period of time for that to be a full-time
Plenty.
job?
Well, I
Do you
did
not
it.
take time to get established?
Well, yeah, it varies from person to person. I was so the way comedy works,
Tell me
we're
how
taking a
comedy
while
works.
to get to YouTube.
Yeah.
The way stand-up comedy
worry, everyone
works
takes ages.
in good. We got a long time here, right? And suddenly jump edit and then just talking about YouTube. No, the way that stand-up comedy works in the UK, and it's very similar, but with a few subtle differences in the US, is you start in the open mic scene, and then open mic scene, you sign up for a spot. There's no. Are you good or not? You just sign up and you show up and you don't get paid, but you do a performance as short as 3 minutes. 5 minutes is normal. So you get a 5-minute spot and you get up and do it, and that's it. And so some people spend years on the open mic circuit. Some people, it's a hobby. A lot of people have no aspirations of going on to be a professional comedian, but they just love doing it. And that's low pressure, low obligation, easy. A lot of people are using it as a training ground to get good enough, because it's just sheer stage time you need, to then start getting unpaid spots, but on proper comedy nights. So on a proper comedy night,
where your name would actually be
the
written.
name would be on there, and people have paid to see a normal comedy night. They're not going along to some open mic night, but because people who organise comedy nights are cheap, they realise they can pad out the bill with people who will do it for free. Because the problem with comedy is supply is much greater than demand.
Well, it's kind of the same in all the arts and communication.
Exactly. Anything like this, more people want to get into it than there are positions available. And so it drives down prices for people getting into the industry. And that's why, like, you see it with internships and all sorts of stuff in other industries. And so you get promoted to doing free 10-minute spots. It takes a long time before you have the position to say, I'm not going to do it unless you pay me. But then at some point you've got to have that, and normally you're going through like a booking agency anyway, and so eventually you do that, and then you work your way up the paid hierarchy, and then you do paid short middle spots, then you do paid opening spots, then you do paid closing spots. It's a kind of rough hierarchy. And you can be paid to be the compere, which I absolutely love. And a lot of comedians don't like being the compere because the focus isn't on them.
Yeah.
And so my first paid gig was as the compere. Because I went, you know what, I quite enjoy hosting.
Yeah.
And so that was when and so a lot of comics won't do it. I loved doing it. And so I probably spent 18 months. So I did about 6 months on the open mic circuit, and then about 18 months on the normal paid
Was this around London
circuit.
or around the whole of the UK?
All of the UK.
Okay.
And so one of the reasons why there are very few places you can start out in comedy is pretty much LA, New York, London. Places that need to be a big enough city to have sufficient open mic nights that you can keep going around between them all. But then to actually work as a comedian is pretty much the UK and some bits of the US, because you need a density of comedy clubs that you can do a couple, because working comics would do 4 or 5 comedy clubs a week, and just every night, different comedy club, different thing. And there needs to be hundreds of them, so you just rotate around the country. And so I did that driving, like my record was I did Plymouth one night, and then I did somewhere in Cumbria the following night, which is a long way. How far would that be? That's like worst case scenario, which in the US is pretty much, from one end of LA to the other.
Yeah, in the US.
And so that's pretty severe over here, all right? And yes, I did that for a while, but then I partly never wanted that. I love stand-up, I love doing it, but that gigging comedy club stand-up scene was never that would never be my
What is it you love from
job.
it? Is it the audience reaction, the immediacy of it? Is it being able to say whatever you want?
It's
and no one else interrupting?
So it's the people do interrupt. It's because the sole criterion is the audience are enjoying themselves. And so, obviously, there are a few more around that, I guess, actually. But I love, in terms of something that's an art form / a job, it doesn't matter what you do. You're put on the stage. As long as the audience enjoy themselves, you get paid. And that's it, right? And you get immediate feedback. You do a thing and the audience respond. And they're the boss, right?
Yeah.
You can tell the best joke in the world. if they don't respond, you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love, there's not a saying, but there's a kind of thing like the audience is always right. And it's like, people say, oh, the customer's always right. And that's rubbish, right? But for stand-up comedy, you've been booked to entertain this room of people. If they don't feel entertained, they're not the ones who are wrong,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
A different comedian than you could be entertaining them right now. And so I just love that. It's always your fault. And don't get me wrong, there's some audiences you walk out and you go, I don't want to be right.
Yeah.
I don't want to entertain you, you jerks, right? But still, you're not doing what you were booked to do. And so I do.
Transitioning that to YouTube, then you don't have that immediacy,
which is weird, yeah.
And the comment section is a very skewed proportion of your audience telling you what they do and don't like. So, what was the transition from comedy to YouTube like?
So yeah, you're right. The audience on you, very opt-in, selective audience make comments, which is very different to what you'd get from an audience.
And it's very bipolar as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Because they need to be above the threshold at which you make an active choice to interact. Whereas if you're talking in front of a normal audience, you can see everyone, you see what everyone's doing. And that is a big, big difference. I came via... So part of me had always wanted to do YouTube anyway. So before YouTube, there was once a time before YouTube.
Are you sitting carefully?
This has gone way back. So when I was at university, there was no YouTube, and this is 2002. Wow. And there were some things online. There were a few websites that had you could download MPEGs of things, but the internet was not ready to be. You could download films. That was starting to happen, but that was, the LimeWire kind of, this is before even torrent files or anything like that. And so if you want to make videos and share it, I did videos for community television. And so when I was at university, I made short films for festivals and I made segments for community TV.
What's community TV?
And so that is like terrible, terrible channels. And so you get community TV in the US and you get it in Australia. There are bits in the UK, but it's not that well known. And so where I grew up in Perth in Western Australia, you could tune your TV to Channel 2, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10. Oh, and there are reasons for those numbers, but that's a whole different math story.
I'm not going to get you started.
It's genuinely not worth it. And then Channel 31, so they were all kind of national ones. Channel 31 was like a local one. And it was broadcast on a different frequency. And if you could be, like TVs out of the box weren't tuned to it.
Yeah.
But if you got a TV and you tuned it properly, you could tune into what was basically YouTube, but people had to make their videos, go into a guy and say, I would like to put this on Channel 31, and then they'll put it, if it's good enough, they'd put it in the queue of videos that went out on the community television.
And would it be on a loop?
Some they would use over and over, some would just go out at regular times.
You can't just be like, I'm just going to subscribe to this person. You've got to be at the TV.
You've got to look up when it's on. Yeah. And so you need to find, and there weren't most TV guides didn't cover what was on Channel 30. Some did, and so you could see, I remember getting the first time I got the TV guide and flicked through, and there was me on community television. Go, there's me in a video, yeah. I know, I probably still got it in a box somewhere in Australia. I should dig that out.
And what were those films that you were first making?
Oh, they were just comedy. They were just pointlessness. So it was a lot of public, good-natured, because there are a lot of prank channels now. This was kind of good-natured, surrealist pranks. And so it was, we got a bathtub and we managed to weld it together so it had steerable wheels underneath it that steered under the water. So we had a bar under the water that went through a watertight thing on the plug and had wheels. And so we could get a run up and roll it. And so we just had these shots of people shopping in an open mall. And suddenly a guy with a hat on and rubber ducks and a thing would just roll through, and that kind of yeah, you get the idea. It's that kind of.
And then in 2007 when YouTube starts, you're like, well, I've got this back catalogue.
Exactly. So so I was like, you know what? Well, I didn't go, I've got this whole catalogue of stuff, I should put it out. I actually just went, I love making videos. And so I thought, I should make a video about logs, like logarithms. Okay. And so another mate I was teaching, and I said, hey, we should do a video about logarithms. And I used to make and edit all my old videos for community TV. And so I was like, you know what? We should do one about logs and put it on this YouTube thing. And this was 2000.
Sorry, in my head, I'm still thinking of chunks, logs.
I know, yeah, sorry. And so it was 2006. that, because YouTube was 2005.
Was it? Okay.
It's been, oh my goodness. Yeah, I remember someone, I don't remember my first memory of YouTube, but I remember someone emailing me saying, hey, have you seen this thing called YouTube? It's the kind of thing you'd be into. And me getting the email and going, oh yeah, no, I'm aware of YouTube. I've seen some stuff on it already. And so I don't actually remember what that was.
You go way back.
Oh my God, I'm like the grandfather of the internet. It's ridiculous. And so I remember going, yeah, I should make some videos. But then I didn't. And we filmed it, but I never edited it. And, other things started happening. And then that was at the very beginning of when I was still teaching, moved into other stuff. And so by about 2009, I was doing stand-up. I started doing a little bit of media work.
And you stopped teaching?
I stopped teaching at that point. I did some YouTube videos for the government department that were meant to encourage more people to go into maths teaching. And so I helped them write them, but they filmed them into the post-production and put them online. They're still online. You can find them. It's early. So that's probably the earliest.
If I can find them, they will be linked.
Oh, goodness. I'll hide them. I think they're still online.
You shouldn't have said that.
I should not have said that. I regret that immediately. And so it was me giving advice for how to use maths to make your life better.
I sense a theme.
Their idea, not mine. It's pretty on brand for me, to be honest. And they had terrible, terrible scripts. And they let me change them a bit. And I was most proud. There's one, I talk about standard meal units. I'm not going to talk about it. You'll find it. I'll find it. Okay. The link is fine. And that was the one script where I was like, no. And then another one, I got to tweak the maths a bit, but they weren't great. They were adequate. The post-production was better than the content deserved. And then I was like, you know what, I should make my own ones of these. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I'm going to start doing that. And about 2010, I was like, right, I'm going to start doing some videos. And so I started messing around with how I would do it. I got a camera I could use at home. I was like, you know what, I could hang like a black background. I was like, what's the quickest, cheapest way to make them look not terrible? Okay. And so I had a black bit of fabric. It wasn't much bigger than this. And I was like, it was an offcut from fabric they use in theatres. Because by then I was doing stand-up, and I'd done shows at the comedy, the Edinburgh Fringe. We'd toured shows around the UK, and I had an offcut from a theatre bit of drape. And I went, I'll just hang that up at home and film in front of it. And I did like 1 or 2 videos with that.
Was this on your current Stand-Up Maths channel?
They are, yes. So they are the very first ones on this current Stand-Up Maths channel. And I'm cropped super tight because that was all the fabric I had, right? So I'm really close up. And I did those, and then 2 things happened about the same time. Other YouTube channels came to me and said, hey, can you do content for us? And there's one called Numberphile, which is still around. Brady rocked up, and another channel, which we'll get to in a moment, rocked up and said, hey, can you do videos with us? And by then I was doing TV stuff, right? So I was doing mainly TV filming.
And had those channels like Brady, had he seen your YouTube or your TV? Or your
TV comedy work, yeah. He'd seen my TV and comedy. And if you Google mass entertainment, not many other people come up. And so he emailed me mid-2011. I know, small demographic. So Brady sent me an email mid-2011 and said, hey, I make videos online about chemistry and physics. Mm-hmm. They're all right. So he was like, because I've spoken to him afterwards about it, he's like, I got to just, I'm not just some guy, I've done stuff, right? I do good videos. Yeah. And he emailed, seriously, I do good YouTube videos and I want to start a maths channel. Do you want to get involved? And he emailed me, and he emailed another guy called James Grime, and he emailed a bunch of people who were, we were like the new people, and a few other people actually, and people who'd been involved in the old chemistry and physics, the 60 symbols and periodic table kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like fun. Mm-hmm. I've got loads of stuff to talk about, because I had all the maths I was doing on stage and other places. I went, I can do some of this for YouTube. And for me, what had stopped me from doing YouTube was, even though I love editing, which is a strange thing to enjoy doing. I love editing. I love doing graphics. My
audience knows quite how much I hate editing. There's a reason this isn't edited.
So love editing, right?
Is it being able to shape the story of it that you like?
It's not even that.
Being able to kill darlings, being able to sit in front of a computer for hours.
I love killing darlings, but it was not even the solitude, although that's part of it. It's the fact that, and this is going to sound more ridiculous than it is, and this is only probably 60% true, but if I had to pick one thing, it's the fact that I can get time, which is this ridiculous difficult to grasp concept, and then boom, there it is, right? I get time in front of me, and I can go, no, I'm going to cut there, I'm going to put that over here, I'm going to layer that, and it's the logic of. So if you watch, I did a video. A very, very quick video about a puzzle that involves 3 dice inside a transparent cube. And then later on I did a revealing video, and remind me to send you the link for this, where it's a long video. I guarantee you very few people have intently watched all of it. Although actually a lot of people have, because they're my people. And in the middle I have this graphic that appears on screen. So this graphic, so it's me with a black background, so I stuck with that. A graphic comes in, and I love a thing where loads of time I talk about the graphic. And obviously when I'm filming it, there's nothing there. Right? But then afterwards I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then I go, the really handy thing is if you print this out, and I reach over and I grab the graphic, and then it's a cardboard printout of the graphic, right? But just the process of me sitting down and going, right, how am I going to film this so I can grab the graphic? Well, it needs to not be there in this shot, but I can digitally edit it out this way, but it needs to be there so I can grab it. And so all the logic of structuring that, and then editing it, going in frame by frame. This frame has to do this. This frame has to do that. Okay, I can Photoshop these frames, but I can do these in Final Cut.
And how would you taught yourself how to do all this?
Just trial and error.
Okay.
So, and YouTube videos eventually. Early on, it was trial and error, and friends of mine who worked for the community TV channel helped me out.
Okay.
And then I always thought, I'd love to edit, and I'd never done it. I did it. I went, no, I do enjoy this as much as I thought I would. Windows Movie Maker was my first edit experience, and then I moved on to forced to do Premiere because that was what the channel used, and then I was like, this is rubbish. And then a good mate of mine who was a designer went, hey, have you tried Final Cut? And I tried Final Cut. Well, this is the business, right? So I've Final Cut ever since. Amazing bit of software.
And so despite the fact that you now like editing, the thing that had put you off doing YouTube stuff was
you're good at this, by the way. You keeping track of several threads and bringing them back. Seriously, you might be fooled by the one-take nature of this. Sally is a master of your live editing. It's so good. Anyway, so no, my time is a finite resource. That was the problem. And so I want to do more projects than I have time for in my life. And so I was doing so many other things that the sheer amount of time it takes to plan, record, and edit video is just insane. And so it was just the easiest thing to get postponed. And so that's why I'd film stuff I wouldn't get a chance to edit. I'd do this and I wouldn't put it up. One of my earliest videos, I went, I'm just not going to have time to film this. I'm going to try and animate it. And so I honestly animated a thing about precision and accuracy when I sat in the back of a taxi because it got stuck in traffic in Belfast in Northern Ireland, and I was going from a science festival to the airport. I was just like, I'm stuck in traffic, and I've got ages. I'm not going to miss my flight or anything. I've got like an hour to kill now. I went, you know what? And I got my laptop here. I may as well see if I can make that video that I'm never going to film. And then I recorded the voiceover like in that night at home or in a hotel. Like later on, I filmed, just record the voiceover and put it out. And I was trying to find ways to make it fit with my life. I just couldn't do it. So when Brady emailed me and went, I'll film them and then I'll go away and I'll edit them and I'll put them online, I was like, this is brilliant. And so I met up with Brady and we did a whole bunch of videos. We filmed a whole day at Pancras Station in London. And then they went, well, and we had no idea how successful the channel was going to be at this point. We were like, wouldn't it be great if we got like 100,000 subscribers, right? And then, and this is testament to Brady, who knows his stuff. My goodness. And so
works like no one else.
Well, it's just insane how he does that many channels that are that prolific. Well, I know how he does it. I've seen him do it, but I'm not giving the secret away. And so we filmed stuff and he put it online and went, well, and then we filmed stuff and he put it online and went, well, and we repeated that about every 6 months. I sit down with Brady, film a whole lot of stuff, and he goes away and does it. And initially, I just showed up with a bunch of ideas, and then later on, we started doing more collaborative stuff where he would ring me up. He'd ring me up one day and went, hey, I might have access to several hundred pies. Do you have any ideas? I was like,
pies, actual,
I live for the actual physical pies.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, yes. And so we positioned them in a massive circle. And we calculated pi by counting the pies in the circle.
I think I've seen that video,
it's worth digging out. It's possibly one of the ones I'm the most proud of on YouTube is that one. Where I just went, yes, I've honestly always wanted to get enough pies to calculate pi with pies, and so we did that. That was great.
Life goal.
It's so good. And so I still do loads of stuff with Brady.
Was this making you money at this point?
No. So, I mean, Brady was doing it it was just enough to cover his costs. And he was like, look, I haven't got any money. Do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, because I want to do it. This is what I want to do. And so, and to this day, everyone who does Numberphile does it for the love of it, because we think it's important and we think it's worthwhile, and we do it. And the MSRI, who are an organization in the US, cover his costs, so he's able to do it. And it's really absolutely amazing that it all comes together and works. But as I started doing that, I went, you know what, I would actually like to do, because the great thing about doing with Brady was he'd go in and edit it. But the turnaround time for me was like 6 months. Because every 6 months I'd see him do a bunch of videos, and then he'd release them slowly. If I couldn't think, I want to do a video and then put it out. Yeah. So I want something a bit more immediate. And so I went, I'll go back to my original plan. But then another channel got in touch, a mob called Headsqueeze, which is part of the BBC.
Yes.
And they were like, BritLab. And they were like, hey, do you want to do videos? And I was like, well, yes. And they were like, and it was a halfway house where I would film it myself. So I would write it, film it, send them the files. They would edit, animate, and put online.
Was that against a green screen?
They did some at the YouTube studio in space. And for me, I was like, my time is a finite resource. I can't do that. What I can do, though, is film at home in the evenings. And so I bought a bigger bit of black fabric and
upgraded,
and I hung that up, and then I recorded at a wider shot in front of that. And then I would initially I just posted in the SD cards. I was like, guys, Dropbox, please. And so I still did their system of posting in the card. I was when, by the way, here is a link if you just want to download it. Now, I don't know, instead of waiting for someone to bring a physical object wrapped in paper to you. And so then we started doing that, which was great. But again, I was like, wow, I miss having a lot more control. And this is strictly off the record. I don't want anyone putting this anywhere else. Mistakes, because I never saw, they would do the animations and it would go online. I didn't get a review step, and there were errors.
Animators aren't scientists.
They're not, and they were just, it's not their fault, right?
Yeah. But unless you have a scientist in the editing process somewhere, there are always going to be mistakes.
So many hilarious mistakes. And you go, yeah, you've, and this is, okay, I was about to say it's my fault, but it wasn't, because I was right. But it was my fault in that I said a thing which makes perfect sense, and they just did a different interpretation of those English words in that order.
Okay.
And I forget that in mathematics, we take words that are often synonyms or are used in language for various reasons, and we use them for very specific reasons. Yeah. And so I talked about the fact that A0 paper is 1 meter square in size. In surface area, which it is.
Yeah,
they drew an actual square. Yeah. And I was like, it's not, it's a... But yeah, and I forgot that you say it's 1 meter square in size, having previously talked about the ratio, and they go, oh, it's 1 meter, and they drew a 1 meter square. I was like, fair enough. And another one, I forget the number, I said something like that, 7,054,278. And they wrote that's a made up number, that's what it was. They wrote 7 and then comma, and then 56, and then they didn't put the zero, because there's a silent zero. 7,000,056,000. They just didn't put it in. I was like, okay, I can see how that happens.
So what's quite weird about you compared to all the other YouTubers is that you started off not having complete control over the videos that you make. The vast majority of people I've spoken to have written, filmed, edited it all themselves, and then are now at the process of, how do I relinquish control so that I can hire an editor? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's You're
where...
the complete flip.
Yep. Well, I had that phase before YouTube. That was when I wrote, filmed, edited, all of that. And so then I worked for TV, where you have pretty much zero control. And then when I started doing YouTube stuff with Brady, I was like, actually, I've got a lot. The fact that I could write it, I was like, I can write it, and I can write whatever I want. And then someone else edits it and films it and edits it. And then for Headsqueeze, I was like, well, I can write it and film it however I want. And then someone else. But then I was like, you know what, I really, really want to do my... and so then there were major structural changes with the way Headsqueeze was being run and became BritLab. And two very good friends of mine, Greg Foote and Hannah Fry, took over the bulk of the hosting, and can I announce? I'm doing a collaboration thing with them coming out soon at some point, and so they ended up doing that, and so that took away that. When that changed, that I lost my quick turnaround stuff.
Okay.
And that's when I went, well, fine, I'm just gonna have to do it myself again. And so I made a burst of videos in early 2015. Yeah, early 2015.
Right,
I made a burst of videos in 2015. Then my life took over again. And I was like, how am I going to... And I went, you know what? I am a algorithmic structural finisher completer. And in October 2015, I just went, I am going to put a video up once a week, no matter what.
Had you told people this schedule?
No, didn't tell anyone, just me. I told me, but I'm my biggest critic / person who will make me do it. And my wife, to explain why I was swearing at a camera late at night. And so I just went, and initially I was on tour with a comedy tour.
Yes.
And so the very first one I made as part of that run, there were like 100 reasons why I could have not done it. Because my black bit of fabric got locked up in the tour van. My camera battery was low.
Yeah.
I didn't have the prop I wanted. And so I was just like, oh. And I went, there were so many opportunities where I could have gone, I'll do it next week. Yeah. And I went, no. I said I was going to start this week, and
you stuck to it.
And I went, I'm going to do it. So I hunted down our poor tour manager and went, I need the keys to the van. I got up I got up crazy early in the morning because the prop I wanted wasn't that fancy. I wanted a lottery ticket to talk about that week's lottery.
Okay.
And I was like, So I got up super early in the morning to go down to walk into the nearest town, be at a newsagent when it opened, bought my ticket, walked back to the hotel we were staying in, had put the fabric up in my hotel room somehow. I forget how I think I've got like electrical tape from one of our tour boxes and taped it against the wall, and then filmed it on my laptop or something. Like I was like, my camera's like, so I didn't have the cable. It was the worst of everything. And then I edited the graphics in the van, driving to that night's gig, and then I uploaded it on the Wi-Fi network of the theatre when we were setting up and sound checking or some ridiculous series of events. And then since then I've just been doing it. Recently I've taken my foot off the pedal on the strict one a week schedule. Only in the last couple months, where a couple times I've just gone, okay, now I'm doing it and I'm making the time for it. I no longer need that regular drum beat to do it. I've got other reasons why I've got to do it.
How have you found managing your time? Because you mentioned a lot that time is your most valuable resource.
So that continues to be a massive problem.
Because you also do Festival of the Spoken Nerd.
Yep.
Which is amazing. I've seen you 2 or 3 times.
You come on to the shows and
stuff. It's this live stand-up geeky thing with you, Steve Mould, whose channel is also now.
He's taken off. Yeah.
Helen Arnie, when's she going to get a proper YouTube channel?
Yeah, she should. Yeah. Arnie,
Helen, get on it. I know you just had a kid, but hey, get on it.
Please, more time at home. So she did stuff with Headsqueeze as well. Yeah. And same as me, she's time poor, and same as Steve. And Steve just finally did the same thing as well. He was like, I'm going to force myself to do regular videos. Yeah. Obviously inspired by this guy. And so he started about the same time when we were on tour. So some of his early videos of the current generation of videos on his channel were filmed in the same hotels where I was in another room doing the same thing on my channel because we were on tour together.
Did you ever film each other's stuff? Help each other out?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, so if you watch one of Steve's very, very early videos of this phase, he has a cutaway shot of a car tire rolling in a vehicle. And that's when I was like, we need a cutaway. Because we were both sat like on the stage editing our videos when we were meant to be sound checking. And I was like, have you got a shot? And he goes, I couldn't find a way to get a shot. I went, I reckon we could be out of here. We could get the keys off the tour manager. We can get the tour van. I will drive it, and you film it, and then
your tour manager must love.
And we get poor guy, Giles Wakely, awesome guy. All right, and I was like, he didn't even know he was there. He was like, why did my keys keep disappearing? And so we did it. We got out. We filmed it. It was the Cardiff gig. If anyone was there, we got back into the venue, finished the check, and he uploaded the video. And so we were helping each other up, but not in obvious ways. We've done 1 or 2 videos together, but again, time poor. And so I just forced it into... So I do Festival Spoken Nerd.
Yes.
Just a very quick recap. I do Spoken Nerd. I do school visits. So I'm about 30 days a year I'm in a school somewhere, and all the prep and stuff that goes with that. I have other people who do the same things in schools for me, and so we organise them going into schools doing that. I write books. I'm meant to be writing a book at the moment. I have an online... retail store mass gear that sells stuff, so I do that. I help organize big scale mass shows that tour around, and several other things. I mentioned I work for a university 1 day a week. Queen Mary University of London, and then I do my own stand-up, and I do media as well. I do radio and everything else. And
so I'm going to ask, why aren't you spending more time working?
I know, I'm lazy. So I love all those things, and I've missed any one of them. And so...
But then there must have been a conscious decision to
There was. I went, you know what, I went YouTube. It was the moment when I finally rigged up a Xbox to stream YouTube to my TV at home. And then I knew YouTube, like Google, are all about, they're basically positioning it to become more of a, proper content producer to rival TV networks. And so I just went, you know what, this TV is dead. All right, this is what I want to do.
Do you think TV is dead?
And so, absolutely, yeah, it's gone. No, it's not yet. It's still thrashing. It'll thrash around for a while.
Okay.
But having worked in TV, I made a conscious decision where I just went, you know what, I'm not going to bother, because to get a TV show, what a pain. And 1 in 20 happen. You put so much work into writing a pitch, and you take it to networks, and they go, oh, it's terrible for these reasons, and you go, well, it's not, but fine, I'll play your game, right? And then you change it, and you do this, and then you film a pilot, and then they go, oh, no, actually, we've changed our mind. It's just so much effort for a product at the end that you're never going to be slightly in control of. Mm-hmm. And so I just went, I'm out. Like, I still do some stuff on TV, like ongoing shows that I already do, and new projects that excite me, but I just pick and choose the ones that come along, and I go, oh, you know what, I want to do that. But for the most part, forget it, it's dead. YouTube, I can put online my own content. And so I'm conscious this is becoming a very long chat.
It's fine.
We'll wrap it up soon.
It won't be the longest.
Really?
No. Maddie's went on for ages.
Really? Oh, yeah. Well, that's Maddie for you. And so she has a lot of interesting stuff.
And
that's
Vanessa,
what I'm saying.
maybe it's an Australian thing. Obviously, Maddie's not, but...
Yeah, no, maybe. It's just, a propensity for rambling. But anyway, so to cut an increasingly long story short, I just went, you know what, I think YouTube is important.
Yeah.
And I saw how useful Numberphile was, and which is why I will continue doing Numberphile for as long as it continues to be a viable channel that we can cover the costs on, because it supports young people at school, it supports people who are young professionals. So it supports young people at school who would get bored of the content they're learning and would feel isolated. They can be part of a wider community and get more excited about mathematics. And young professionals who have left the academic environment but still want to keep that excitement for their subject. And so I think it's very important for those reasons. And so
is that who you're aiming your videos at then, those two?
Yeah. It's proto-nerds and board nerds. They're my guys. And so,
is that who you're actually reaching?
It's hard to say. Are
you all into the Google Analytics?
A little bit. So my average viewer is a male American 25 to 34.
Okay.
So
what's
basically,
your gender split?
Terrible.
I bet it's not as bad as mine.
It's horrific. So, and I've tried, any suggestions, let me know. I sit at 96% male.
Oh, it's worse than mine. Oh my
4% female on my split.
Mine's 94%, and I thought
there you go.
Worse than
well done. 94, good job. No, it's just horrific. And
why do you think that is? Because it's math?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Which everyone else I've spoken to has said, because I'm female, I get more men, the men get more women.
No, the only time it goes back better is if something goes proper viral.
Okay.
Because there are obviously loads of girls watching YouTube videos because there are massive channels with them as their main demographic. And so if something ever breaks out of my own audience, then it starts to bring the average, not much, but it starts bringing it back a notch. But if it's something that goes out for my normal audience, it's 96%, guys. And I have no idea how to fix that, what to do. I've chatted to, because my wife she doesn't do YouTube, she does a lot of media stuff. And so she does stuff for the BBC about astronomy and physics, Professor Lucy Green, who also has a book out. And we've sat down and we've tried to go, like, what can we do? But the thing is, I make YouTube videos because I make things that I think would be interesting and I put them online. Yeah. And so I go, well, you know what? I haven't put that much thought into any other aspect of this, and I can keep that in mind and do my best, but I'm out of ideas. And so I've just gone, I'm just going to have to make videos that I find interesting and put them online and hope for the best.
Where do you find your ideas?
Oh goodness. I keep a text document on my phone, and whenever I see something interesting, I put it on the list. but it's a very long list.
Okay.
And people email in, hey, interesting thing, it goes on the list.
That's nice.
People send me messages in the comments, and it goes on the list. It's a massive list.
Do you feel like you've got a good relationship with your audience?
Oh yeah, they're adorable. You're all adorable. Yeah, they're great. They're great. Oh, that's true. Yeah, you jerks. They're great because they're nerds, right? And as in, I'm a nerd, and they're my people, and it's brilliant, and they're absolutely lovely, and YouTube gets a bad rap for comments, but mine are fine, right? Seriously, because it's all my people show up first, lovely comments. If things go viral, then other people come flooding in, but for the most part, it's all right. I mean, if you've watched a 15-minute video about some obscure part of mathematics, then you're probably, by the time you get to the end of that, you'll be fine. I get a bunch of people, you get the usual stuff. Why is this interesting? Why am I watching it? I'm like, well, that's for you to answer, not me. Because my lighting is terrible and I've got male pattern baldness going on there. The way I light myself, it can do weird things to my hair, where bits vanish in the light. And
now
I
I've
need
gone
to
blonde. Hair suddenly disappears.
It's weird.
Do that with
and so
hair.
in some videos, because I don't put any, I look at it afterwards in the edit and go, oh, I've done it again, right? And it makes it look like I've just got one island of hair here and nothing. I'm like, oh well.
So you don't consciously think about your appearance while setting up?
No. So I put that online, and then loads of people have weird comments about my haircut. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. Well, that's fine. But that's the worst. I mean, come on. I get off so lightly. It's just. Many people have a real tough time putting stuff out there, yourself included. Yeah. And I am hugely impressed that you keep going, because I get nothing, and even I'm like, oh, jerks, right? And so I go as a straight Caucasian male. Yeah.
Doing long form math
videos that no one else is going to watch. It's so good.
Have you ever thought about kind of the whole clickbaity, making 4-minute short videos?
Yeah.
Because I know that you do pie stuff on Pie Day, so there's a bit of tentpoling going on.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. And occasionally I have an internal debate about how clickbaity to make the titles, because partly I am evangelical about it. Oh, exactly. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Number 7 will shock you.
I did like your 4 has 4 letters.
4 has 4 letters,
I read that and just like, okay, Matt, you're really scraping the barrel.
Thanks. The original, because the clickbait version was going to be 4 is a 4-letter word. Or something a bit more like, the worst 4-letter word, or something like, there are other ways to do it. And I went, no, 4 is 4 letters. Keep it down the line. But yeah, bizarre. Yeah. And so, I don't know, I do think about occasionally, and to be completely honest, occasionally I go, you know what? I'm going to do a short, engaging, quick, viral-ish, shareable video. Yeah. And every time I do that, I go, I'm going to do that, and then I record it and I put it in the editing thing and go, it's 10 minutes long. How did that happen? And I just, so what are you going to do?
Very briefly, brand deals.
Yeah.
Are they a thing? Are they
so
something on the horizon?
I'm torn. So the ongoing, recurring theme here is I don't have enough time, but I think it's important.
Yeah.
And the way I'm doing it at the moment is not sustainable, because it was late at nights, weekends, which I've dedicated. I'm meant to be writing a book, and that's meant to be my late at nights and weekends, because I do everything else. And so I was like, right, what am I going to do? Because I can force myself to do one a week for a while, and then there's going to come a point where it's just unsustainable. Yeah. And I toyed around with getting sponsorship from an education organization, but that comes with its own set of baggage and it's difficult to pitch. I thought I did one where I did not a sponsorship, but at the end I mentioned a thing, which I'm not going to mention again because they're not paying me at the moment. But it was genuinely a thing where I went, actually, I quite like that thing, and I don't mind doing that.
It's lovely when that happens.
Not a problem. And I've turned down everything else that's come in. I've gone, that's not a thing I like. And so, as anyone with any success on YouTube knows, you start getting people pitching and sending, oh, join my network. Oh, mention this thing. And I've just been blanket no, apart from one thing where I went, actually, I would do that. And if it works, it might be a sustainable way to make this work. And I had mixed experience with it, so I decided not to bother with that angle. I went, forget that. Let's try Patreon. And so I set up a Patreon. And this is only like 2 weeks ago I set it up. And my people, they're amazing, and so everyone kind of chipped in, and I'm like, hey, so people are now, I think the Patreon model I think a combination of Patreon and academic education organizations that have the same goals as me. That's the plan. So a mob called the Further Math Support Program have said, hey, how about we pay for you to travel around and meet some people who use maths in their jobs? And I was like, brilliant, I'm doing that.
Perfect.
And then they've also gone, oh, here's some money to go and meet people who put on national theatre productions in the maths they use. And I'm like, brilliant.
Sounds terrible,
right, so I know, it's going to be horrible. Yeah. And so they've been great, right? But that's kind of, I've had to apply for that money, and then I do things, and I do it, and I put the videos out for them. And they get to check it and all that kind of stuff. So it's a halfway house. Whereas Patreon, I've already spent the money. I haven't even got the first month's payment yet. I've already spent it. I've checked the other day 3 times over. I bought some kit that I desperately needed because I didn't have any hard drives to edit on. Okay. So I bought that. I need to buy a camera. I need to buy a bunch of other stuff. And I'll get to that. I've then got a mate of mine who makes videos, and I've gone, hey, let's make some videos. So we're going to the Rubik's Cube UK Championships because I pitched Rubik's Cube as a TV show.
On Twitter for a load of Rubik's Cubes?
That was something else.
Oh, okay.
It's not dissimilar. And so that was for a project I'm doing in Manchester with Katie Steckles about pixels, which is amazing. And so I've pitched to so many TV production companies, networks, time and time again about Rubik's Cubes. There's a new revival. People are doing them. All the cool stuff you can do. I'm not going to do it now. Amazing stuff. And every time they get a bit excited and then go, oh, it's not going to work. Oh, it's not going to happen, of all these reasons. And so the moment Patreon went, I went, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go and film the show that no network has ever wanted to make or broadcast. And so but it's expensive. I had to hire a camera guy. I've had to pay for editing time because, I can do my stuff at home. This is going to be a semi-legitimate thing. And I've got to get 3 of us. So there's me, the camera guy, and kind of a runner person who I've got to get all of us to Bristol. We've got to stay in a hotel. We've got to film, the equipment hire. God, it's so expensive. And I'm doing another one with a mate of mine who does amazing stuff programming with lasers. And I've always wanted to film a thing he created. Yeah. And so I finally got him booked in. But then we had to hire like a location. It's like a location shoot. And suddenly you're paying an hourly rate for a location. And so the Patreon is not yet successful enough that I can do 1 a month where I'm doing it properly, but that's my goal, is to work it up. So to do occasional stuff for educational organizations who want to fund me to do interesting stuff, and then Patreon once a month to do something fascinating, and the rest of the time I slightly up my game, but keep doing the normal ones. The absolute dream would be where I can turn down other work because I can actually pay myself for the YouTube. That is the dream. It really is.
And it's
That'd be
interesting
amazing.
that you're moving into almost a more of a TV style format, like going on location and things like that.
I think that's just my background. Yeah. And I love long form stuff on YouTube. So that's my kind of,
2 last questions.
Yep.
Kind of more complex stuff. Based on that, and I know you've mentioned your pie video already.
Yep.
What video are you proudest of? On any channel that you've done?
Anything I've done. My goodness. Proudest of. It might be, it's going to be tough. So the pie video was an idea I've always wanted to do, and we executed it, and it was amazing. And loads of teachers use it in their classrooms. It's got people interested in it. They got a concept across, and I was just like, that is amazing. And a very similar one I did, actually on my channel, this was early on, this model where a friend of mine volunteered to come and film a thing I was doing and edit it, who used to do TV production work, which is kind of how I know him. And he did it all for free and put it up on, and I uploaded it to my channel I made a computer out of dominoes. And that is probably the one I'm the proudest of because it was an amazing idea done properly and then put online for anyone to see and use. But then there's other ones like the one I mentioned about the dice in a cube, just the amount of people who did mathematics off the back of having watched that video and trying to solve the puzzle was phenomenal, which is why the follow-on video was so long, because there were so many good bits of maths people sent in. So I think in terms of achieving my goal of making people enjoy mathematics, it was a surprisingly quick, by my standards, video with me waving around 3 dice in a cube, and then that made a lot of people around the world do mathematics. That's probably that, yeah.
And what's the one thing that you want people to know about you and your YouTube that you don't think they know that is out there?
That's a super good question. I mean, there's the bordering on cliche stuff of how long it takes to do it. But that's forever. No one appreciates how long it takes to do stuff. And I think for me, I do it because I think it's worthwhile, and I've got great aspirations for. I mean, there's no limit to how much stuff you can do. That's I'm solely limited by this is sounding more like an ad than an admission. I'm just solely limited by the amount of time and funding and support that I can throw at this stuff. And so what people don't know about I'm still using the same bit of fabric that I had. So not the original, not the small one, the upgraded bigger one. I'm still using that same bit of fabric. It has been cable tied to cupboards. It has been electrical taped to doors. It's currently cable tied to a pole from a tent that's attached to picture hooks on a picture rail, and it's suspended on my on a wall in my spare room. So amazing. There you are. It's honestly done so cheaply. It's insane, that bit of fabric. But I'm sadly going to retire it and get a better bit of fabric. I know.
Are you going to auction off the original one?
I should. I'll put it in a box. The thing is, it's not big enough. So in the corners, like, I've got to frame the shot up, and sometimes I just can't frame it with that bit of fabric. And so I get a cushion and put a black I dress a cushion in a black t-shirt and then lean it against, because it's not even a rectangle bit. There are bits missing. I lean it there. And so I've got to patch it with other bits of black stuff. It's just a mess. So, yeah, that's...
Cool. Thank you so much for doing all this.
Sorry, my absolute pleasure.
2 days of comparing this QED con.
And we've been filming in natural light, which is slowly diminishing.
It's slowly going, so I will slowly be amping up the game.
Yes. But yeah.
Favourite social media...
What platform?
What's your favourite social media thing?
Oh, it's YouTube. My goodness. What a glorious... I mean, I Twitter.
I don't consider YouTube social media.
Really?
No.
Yeah, okay, that's because you're a young person. So I tweet. And your Twitter is? standupmaths. Cool. So almost any platform. I'm not on Facebook. Old person. But in Twitter, I'm standupmaths. Yeah, that's very true. Oh, yeah. I just missed it. I was briefly on it when it was people with university addresses.
The Facebook.
I was on the Facebook when I had to start all my status updates with the word is. And you had to have a university account. So I was the first wave when they expanded it to be any university.
Exciting. So thank you so much, and go watch maths, because there are very few mathematicians on YouTube, and
good.
You do a great job.
I don't want too much competition.
Cool. Bye.